Alright, so here we are in the stage 4 of the Gateway Cup. This is the Benton Park Classic. 10 turns, super technical. We just came through the start-finish line. We're starting our 3 laps to go. Really long course. I think it was like almost 2 miles long. Super technical. This is our first left-hander right after the start-finish line, which kind of went up a hill. Now it levels off. Trying to stay as close as I can to the front, because it's very technical, and you're kind of you're really at the mercy of the guys in front of you and how their bike handling skills are. We just took our first right-hander. Now we're heading towards the Anheuser-Busch factory, which is directly in front of us across the bridge. This was a tight left-hander right here. Pace is pretty high because we're getting down to the last few laps. Everybody's trying to move up. There were a few places on the course where you could move up, but there was a lot of places where you just couldn't move up. You were pretty much stuck where you were until you got through the turns. It was a very technical, hard course too. I mean, there was lots of ups and downs. Even though it looks fairly flat from the pictures, there was actually a few places where you were really getting on the gas to get up over little bumps. Now we're going back over the bridge again that we just came across. There was another bridge just to our left, so we've got 2 bridges to cross. Now we'll be coming up to the right-left chicane. It was a very quick right and then a left, so you were pretty much like you see, it's pretty single file here. So this guy here is kind of causing a bit of a gap. He was very tentative on the turns, kind of really slowed me up. And luckily he got back up. See there? Okay, so there was a crash right there. That crash really messed us up. That left a big, huge gap. The front guys were going full gas, and everybody that crashed here hit the brakes. So I am trying not to be in panic mode because there's no more free laps. With 3 laps to go. So there's Rob White. He's he's in 2nd place overall in the Omnium, so he's got to get back up there too. There's a lot of riders still behind me, so I'm just trying to catch back up here. This is a little bit of a downhill. This was always a really good place to move up if you were together. There's a pretty fast left-hand off-camber turn at the bottom of the hill that you had to kind of be careful. You can see the guys are already going through the turn at the bottom here. And then this is 2 turns to go, so now there's 1 last straightaway. This goes downhill and then up to the finishing turn. So I'm just trying to catch back on. Guys are just shelled off the back of this group, so I'm trying to pass as many as I can to catch back up before we go up that hill. As soon as you pass the start-finish line, you go up a hill. And we're starting 2 laps to go right here. So this is the finishing straightaway. There's the finish line right there. We're getting 2 laps to go. Luckily, there's some guys that are coming by me that are going to help me close this gap. There goes Mike Hagney. There goes Bart Clifford, my teammate. He's the team leader. He's the race leader in the 50 plus. As you can see, we're going 28 miles an hour up this hill. And I am like hurting right here trying to close this up before we make the left turn. And I catch back on. So now we're all back together again. Hopefully I can catch my breath and regroup a little bit for the last 2 laps. This was probably one of the funnest race courses I've ever raced on. I would definitely love to do this again. It has a little bit of everything. Technical skills, power, a really great finishing sprint finish. That's Bart Holleran from Monster Media. He's trying to close this gap back up. This was a very painful last few laps for me. That crash kind of set me behind. I had been feeling pretty good up to that point. And when you got to dig super, super deep, and you're kind of behind the 8-ball when it comes to recovery and getting ready to sprint. Scott Moninger is in this lead group with us here, and Bart, so I didn't really see anybody else that was in the 50 plus. There ended up being 2 more guys that were also in the 50 plus that were up in this group, but I think they were just behind me. There's where the crash was last lap. We all got through safely this time. There's the wheel pit right there. They had a double wheel pit, so you could actually pit on either side of that turn. That was where the race course met in 2 different places. One was a left and then one was a right turn, and they had the wheel pit on both sides. So now we're on a little downhill stretch going into the last 2 turns, going into Bell Lap. There's Bart right in front of me on the right in the full black kit. That's Mike Hagney right behind him. There's Sharon Smith right in front of Bart. So we're all in a really good spot right here. Now we're going into the last turn, going into Bell Lap. There's Bart right there, my teammate. I tell him to stick with Emil and Sharon. That's Emil right there in the black and red. There's Sharon Smith in the black and yellow. 2 fastest sprinters in the field. Kind of make the mistake of going up the middle here instead of staying on the outside where I could keep my momentum going. I kind of get stuck and swarmed on the outside by riders sprinting up the hill. And you'll see Sharon make a pretty good move to go around the outside and move up quite a few places where I hesitated. If I was smart, I should have followed him. I can't really move up here because that guy, the stages guy, is right on my right, and he slides in front of me, so there's plenty of places on the course to make up turns. I usually would sometimes take the inside line on this course because you could pass people like I do right here. And I just made up one spot just by taking a good line. Now I got to get back up. So we got a left turn coming. This stages guy was bumping and fighting for wheels with me. Not sure why, but it is Bell Lap, so I guess I can't really blame him. But I'm not going to fight somebody with 6 turns to go. There's Scott Moninger in front of me, black and orange. See, these turns set up so fast when you're going single file, so there's really not a whole lot of places to make up ground unless you're willing to burn quite a few matches. Here comes the left-right chicane. There's Bart on my outside there. He's gonna move up and make a good move and dive in on the inside on this next turn.
Get it for Scott.
Now we just have the... I ended up being in too big a gear right here and got bogged down a little bit, so I was going to try to go around this guy for the last turn, before the last 2 turns on this downhill where I usually made up ground, but they're doing 34 miles an hour, and it's not a really safe... It's not a safe turn to take at more than 34 miles an hour, so I would have had to do a very unsafe move. And to be honest, I was probably on my limit right here anyways. So as soon as we make this turn, I got to get around this guy because he's gapped off. And I get my momentum and speed built up going into this last turn. And that's pretty much how I finish. Stage 4, I ended up 2nd place in the Omnium, Bart 1st, Scott Moninger 3rd. Really fun racing. I will definitely be back.